So welcome today. I wanted to introduce my authors to you. This is Inkspell Publishing's Magic and Mischief anthology, and we're getting together today to talk about our stories and our writing and all of the exciting things we have going on. So let's talk about your stories that you wrote for us. So tell us a little bit about your story and where you got the idea for this inspiration for this story. VK, let's begin with you.
So my story is, I guess, a story of discovery, using a girl who finds out that she has the ability to jump between worlds. The idea actually is one that I'd been kicking around for a few years, and I'd started writing a book a long time ago, using the concept of what if all religions were correct, but only a piece of the story was in the religion. So if you took all of the different pieces and put them together, then that was the reality. So the concept with this book is that she's able to pass between worlds and universes. Her first jump she does accidentally and doesn't understand fully what she's doing. And she comes across an old school friend, like a childhood friend of hers, who she's not entirely sure that this is actually the same person. She gets a little bit confused around because he looks the same, but he's older and a little bit scary. And so it's that juxtaposition between finding yourself and then finding out what you're capable of, and the relationship between those two and how that develops as well. So
it is a very interesting story. I can't wait for everybody to read it. And Mark, can you tell us about your story? It's got a unique twist.
All right. Well, I started out when I first saw the call for the anthology, and I primarily write mysteries and romance mysteries. And I'd never done anything paranormal. And at the time I was trying to think of maybe, try something different. And somewhere along the line, I came up with the idea of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but a modern twist to that. And at the same time, I was in communications with Ellie, and we were trading emails back and forth. And I said, I know nothing about paranormal, and I could use a little fresh insight. So I persuaded her to join me in this effort. And what started out to be Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs shifted to, I thought seven was too many for a novella. So then we came upon the idea of using the Greek gods instead. And it kind of snowballed from there. And it was really an adventure to write this, especially with a co-author here. So I had a lot of fun with this story. And it's a young lady who starts hearing voices and seeing visits from the Greek gods, and her roommate encourages her to, maybe it's time to talk to a psychiatrist because nobody else can see or hear these people, but her roommate hears her having conversations and thinks she's a little crazy.
All right, Ellie, why don't you take it from there and explain what your thinking was and how you got asked to be a part of this collaboration with Mark?
Sure. So it's exactly how Mark described it. And yeah, as Mark said, we were exchanging emails, and then suddenly I still remember the date. I think it was the 1st of December, and it was summer for me here because obviously I'm in the Southern Hemisphere. So it's summer, and I wake up to like this email, and then I see Mark's words or something along the lines of, there's this opportunity to write paranormal. And why don't you kind of, come along and kind of maybe help out with the adventure and, write this book along. And I read it about 6 times because I went into shock. And my first response was like, me, like out of everyone, it's like me. And I was like, okay. I was like, sure, like, why not? Like, I was in for the experience, and I just thought that maybe I'm at that time where, since I've been writing for so long, maybe it's just time to kind of build on that and maybe build on my skill. But the idea of it, as Mark said, came along where we were randomly talking about fairy tales, and then Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs came into the conversation. And I was catching the train. I still remember this. I was catching the train on the way to work, and then I had this random thought: what if Snow White actually visited a psychiatric for some reason? And then we started building up from there, and then we realized that we were developing mini structures for a potential story. And this happened before the email, and then the email came along, and then everything just clicked, and it went from there.
Now, what personally, Ellie, did you add to this story? I mean, I kind of felt like when Mark when I was reading some of it, I could tell what parts were Mark. What did you add to the story?
So for me, it was about, I think it was more to do with like, there's the kind of like an evil stepmother kind of dynamic, and like a strained relationship between my main character and the stepmother. And also, I guess a few, because I love music, so I kind of added a bit of like musical twist between the main character and her roommate. So I think there were those kind of elements that I added. And of course, I did contribute to like some of the interactions that she had with the Greek gods.
It's always fun. Thanks. Celia, I love the humor that you put into your stories. So tell us about what inspired you to write your story.
So my story, Curses, Quests, and Cuties, is another retelling of Rapunzel this time. And I have been wanting to write a Rapunzel retelling for a very long Disney movies. And then I also read the book Cinder by Marie Sexton. It's one of her novellas, and I've read it about 10 times. So I wanted to do a gender swap fairy tale retelling. So I came up with Rapunzel. It's a gay romance retelling where the one main character is running from his family curse that says he has to go on a quest and fall in love and live happily ever after, and he doesn't really want to because he doesn't like being told what to do. And then the other character has been stuck in a tower for many, many years, and weird things happen in this tower. There's a lot of magic around it, and he's just kind of rolled with it for now because he doesn't know anything else until then through the window in his tower and changes his life.
And yes, there's lots of humor. All right, Liz, tell us about your story.
So my story is The Urn in the Attic, and it's basically exactly what the title says. So this trio of roommates, they find an attic in their, they find an urn in their attic, and following that, of course, they start to have these weird hauntings. And so following forward, they're just kind of wondering what this is, who this is, and going on that journey. And I hope that the ending's kind of a twist. I don't know. I thought it was comical. So you'll just have to read that to find out. It came to me when I was in undergrad. We had to write a short story, and it had to be 4,000 words. Of course, this is a lot longer, and I had to put up a lot, which was difficult. But I wrote it because I didn't really feel comfortable writing romance in front of that my peers would read. It was kind of still new to me at the time, telling people like when I read these type of books. So it had a little bit of romance, but I really kind of tried to beef that up a little bit.
It's a very cute story. Mick, yours was an interesting one. There was a lot of, I think, sword play going on. Can you share with us about how you got the inspiration for your story?
Yeah, so my story actually I wrote back when I was in university, and it got shelved for a long time. And then when I saw the call for the anthology, I thought it would be a good fit, but it definitely needed a lot of changing because my writing wasn't nearly where it is now, and obviously there's a lot more to learn and to improve. But in general, what came from it was the situation currently in the world is what really inspired it, because the story starts with a young man who's free, can go anywhere, do anything, and that's exactly what he intends to do. And then he quickly ends up in a town and is trapped, and he's not just trapped physically, but then he's also trapped emotionally. And so him and his fellow protagonists fight together and connect, and into a lot of sword fighting, and face a lot of danger to gain that freedom that I think a lot of people were really craving over the last few months. And so that's really where the inspiration in my story came from.
Well, and the sword fighting is pretty cool. I mean, you can't go wrong with that in a story. And Clara, what about your story? I love that you're tying in with some old characters, some familiar characters.
Yeah.
So people can continue their love.
Right. So my story, Everwood Academy, is a continuing story in my Immortal Kindred series. And at the time that that series ends, my main character is 10 years old. And so I really wanted to kind of stick with her. And in this story, she's 16 now and finds herself at this paranormal academy. And I just was kind of inspired by what her life now might look like. And it looks very different from what it did 6 years ago. So that's kind of where we pick up.
Well, and it's fun because you get to revisit those characters.
Yeah.
And we talked about how people have fallen in love with a series, and now you're almost starting a whole nother series from this. And hopefully you'll continue to write in that so that we'll get to see more of her and her friends who you just introduced to us. Before we go, I want to just quickly go through, say where people can get a hold of you, where they can find you, so that we can hopefully have some of our viewers reach out to you and tell you how much they love your stories. So VK, if you could.
My main point, I guess, is my website, which is thevktritzer.com. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram, although I don't do a lot of Instagram. I see lots of pretty pictures, but I don't get much of a concept. But yeah, definitely hit me up. I love to hear from my readers. I love to interact with my readers. Those that see me on Twitter will be happy to have a tweet and a shout out. So,
Mark, tell us about where we can find you and if you've got any projects coming up.
All right. You can find me on Facebook, on Amazon. My blog is motownmysteries.blogspot.com. I'm trying to do a newsletter every month and a couple of posts there as well. I am also on Twitter and Instagram occasionally under Motown Mysteries. That's where I'm at. I'm currently about halfway into the next novel on my other series with Jefferson Shane. And Ellie's going to kill me, but I'm going to say it that she and I are already talking about the possibility of collaborating on another story. So we're trading ideas and we'll see where it goes.
Wonderful. We do need that sequel to What Happens to Her Roommate, so hopefully we'll get to hear about that. Ellie, where can people find you and what are you currently working on?
All right, so because I'm like fairly new, I've just set up my author page on Facebook. So if you type in Eddie Nina Castle, you'll be able to find me there. Also, I have an author email account, so I'm happy for anyone to contact me there. So that's Eddie Nina Castle all together, no punctuations, at gmail.com. I'm currently working on, you actually took my idea out of my head. I'm actually working on something related to Solana's roommate. So that's coming along quite well. I'm a healthy 5,000 to 6,000 words maybe. So yeah, so the idea was in my head, but I'm happy that it's coming out in words now. And I'm making time consciously to kind of get back to it. And I'm trying to challenge myself by maybe incorporating another point of view in. And yeah, as Mark said, we are looking at another collaboration, but yeah, right now it's in just like the phase 1 of exchanging ideas.
It's going to be exciting, so I can't wait. Celia, we've got a big release coming on in your series this year, and where can people find you, and tell us what you're currently working on.
So you can find all my links to my social media on my website, which is celiamulder.com. I mostly am on Instagram. My handle is also Celia Mulder on there. And then I have been being pretty consistent on my monthly newsletter. It was one of my goals for 2020. So far 6 months in, and I've done 6 newsletters. So you can sign up for that on my website, and I'd say that's probably the best way to keep up. I also do a lot of book recommendations on my website because, as I said, I am a librarian, so I do tend to read and read quite a bit, and I also like keep up on what's coming out. For my own stuff, yes, I have the sequel in my Celebrity Spin Doctor series. The second book is called The Issue with Antons. And you can expect the same ridiculous celebrity culture, lots of unlikable characters who you kind of also like, and you kind of want to see them change, but also know they're not going to. So there's mystery, there's some, undercover adventures. There's a big party they all get trapped at for a very long time. So I'm very excited about that. That comes out at the end of September. I also do have another anthology that will be self-published with my writing group, and that's going to be holiday-themed, end-of-year holidays. So I have a New Year's-themed short story in that.
Awesome. Can't wait. Liz, you've got a book coming out, and where can people find you?
So I have a book coming out in October called Heart's a Mess. It is about, it dabbles in, I guess you could say, faith healing, but more so kind of the false side of faith healing, and a romance kind of comes out of that, which is weird to say, but I hope it comes across on the page, how it works out. And my readers can find me on Facebook and on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter, but I'll be honest and say that the Twitter is a mystery to me, so I don't use the Twitter too often. And I also have a website, and it's liz-ashley.com.
Great, wonderful. Mick, where can we find you, and what are you currently working on? I know you've got one in the pipeline as well.
So my readers can find me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Michael Lemieux or Northern More Writing. I always make it a point to respond to all my readers. So if you do reach out to me, know that I will actively respond, and I love talking to my readers. So please do so. Currently, I have a book that they'll be coming up with Inkspell in July 2021, Promise Keeper. So it's still a while now, and so we're just waiting on moving forward that process. And right now, I'm actually not working on anything else other than that project.
Hopefully, you'll find some more time to get some writing in, because it's always exciting. And Clara, what about you? Where could we find you, and what are you currently working on?
You can find my links also on my website, clarawinterbooks.com. I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm currently working on a young adult historical murder mystery, which is completely new to me, so having fun with that.
That sounds interesting. Can't wait to see about that one. All right, and of course you can find Inkspell Publishing on inkspellpublishing.com as our website, or we're on Facebook as Inkspell Publishing. So please check out our forthcoming anthology. It releases July 13th. It is Magic and Mischief, and there is sure to be both in this stories. Thank you.